You are carrying battles that are no longer yours to fight. You feel the weight pressing on your chest, the deadlines, the uncertainty, the fear of losing everything. And yet, there is a law working quietly on your behalf that you have not recognized. You think you are alone, but you are not. Another hour of stress will not move your life forward an inch. Another night staring at the ceiling, replaying mistakes, fearing outcomes, worrying about people who barely think of you. None of this has added a single coin to your pocket or a single moment of peace to your mind, and still you cling to the burden. There is a reason your progress has felt slow, heavy, exhausting. You have mistaken your temporary delay for abandonment. You believe your struggle proves that you are behind. But I tell you, delay is often divine protection in disguise, and the thing you fear has already been settled long before you saw the first sign of trouble. Before you doubt these words, pause and look at your own history. Count the storms that were supposed to destroy you but somehow did not. Count the failures that later became stepping stones. Count the nights you thought were the end, only to discover they were doors opening in the dark. You did not survive by accident. You survived because a greater law was at work. You stress because you believe everything rests on your limited strength. You forget that the very desire that burns within you was placed there by intelligence beyond your understanding, an intelligence that never hands a man a vision without preparing the way for its fulfillment. If you could see the invisible work being done on your behalf, you would not be trembling today. You think you must solve every problem alone. But the moment you made your purpose definite and backed it with faith, unseen forces began rearranging circumstances to answer you. This is not poetry, it is law. Stress appears when you try to do the work that belongs to that law instead of the work that belongs to you. Look at your present habits. You rehearse the worst outcomes in your mind. You visualize defeat more vividly than victory. You imagine doors closing instead of opening. Yet the universe has never rewarded a man for worshiping fear. Stress is simply faith pointed in the wrong direction. There is something you need to understand. The result you fear has already been overturned. The danger you imagine has already been neutralized. The burden you carry has already been lifted at a level you cannot yet see. You are stressing over battles that have already been fought for you in realms your eyes cannot enter. You say, but what if it all falls apart? I say, what if it has already fallen into place? You say, what if I fail? I say, what if the path before you has already been straightened? You say, what if I lose everything? I say, what if these trials are preparing you for greater responsibility? Your stress is built on illusions. Think of what your stress costs you. It steals the energy you need for creation. It weakens your imagination. It cripples your decision. It blinds your attention. It poisons your faith. Stress is a thief that enters only when you forget the source of your strength. And you have forgotten it too often. Your children see it in your eyes. Your spouse feels it in your silence. Your co-workers sense it in your hesitation. Stress leaks through your voice, your posture, your decisions. It convinces the world that you do not trust the very future you claim to desire. It robs you of respect before you speak a word. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking tomorrow with the calm authority of a man who knows his outcome is secured. Imagine walking into rooms with the quiet confidence of one who senses invisible hands clearing obstacles ahead of him. Imagine speaking as if your success were already signed and sealed. How different your life becomes when stress is no longer your master. You will say, but how can I stop stressing when nothing has changed? And I answer, everything has already changed. You are simply the last one to see it. God works in silence long before he works in sight. The law of success works beneath the surface long before it reveals itself above the ground. The seed sprouts roots before it breaks the soil. You cry because you see no movement, but the seed feels movement. The soil feels movement. The future feels movement. Only you remain blind to the process. You mistake unseen growth for stagnation and call it despair, when in truth it is preparation. Stop judging your progress by what your eyes can measure. Your eyes are too limited, too impatient, too focused on the surface. The greatest breakthroughs of your life will occur without warning, because they are the results of forces that have been laboring quietly on your behalf while you stressed over nothing. Let me tell you a secret. Stress is proof that you believe you are alone. Faith is proof that you understand you are not. You cannot hold both. One will push the other out, and whichever you choose will shape the next year of your life. Stress will repeat your past. Faith will rewrite your future. Listen carefully now. The battle you fear, the one that has stolen your sleep, tightened your chest, and shaken your confidence, has already been handled. It is not your job to control outcomes. It is your job to obey the law. Make your purpose definite. Speak your desire daily. Act with courage, and trust that the rest is already arranged. Stop stressing over what is no longer yours to solve. Stop fighting battles that have been settled. Stop trying to carry a future that has already been structured to your advantage. Your only responsibility now is to walk forward with the authority of one who knows he cannot be defeated. So hear this. Breathe, lift your head, and calm your spirit. What you fear is already handled. What you dread is already resolved. What you think will break you has already been used to build you. Walk with assurance. The law is on your side. God is on your side. Your future is on your side. Stop stressing. Start listening. Start trusting. Start moving. The way has already been prepared for you. You have carried the weight of your life upon your own shoulders because you believed you were alone. And that belief has produced a strain no man can endure. Yet I tell you that no man rises by strength alone, and no man falls from weakness alone. There is a law shaping every life long before the individual awakens to its presence. And your stress is the result of not understanding this sacred arrangement. Every great achievement begins beneath the surface of life, just as the seed develops its roots before any sign of the stem appears above the soil. You have judged your progress by the absence of visible results, never realizing that the soil of your character was being broken open from within, preparing for the upward surge that only endurance could produce. Stress entered your mind the moment you forgot that roots must come before fruit. What you call delay is often the silent movement of God preparing the way before you. What you call stagnation is the ordering of circumstances you are not yet mature enough to interpret. You have walked through seasons where nothing seemed to change, and you asked, "Has God forgotten me?" The truth is that infinite intelligence works in quiet places, arranging conditions so subtly that only in hindsight do you understand how every apparent setback held you in position. Stress is not caused by the size of your burden. It is caused by assuming the part of the law that does not belong to you. You were given the power to think, to plan, to act, to persist, but the law was given the task of arranging people, opportunities, timing, and circumstances. When you attempt to do the work of the law, you experience strain. When you do your work and leave the rest to the law, you experience peace. I have observed men for many years, and I have seen more lives destroyed by stress than by hardship. Stress is a misuse of faith. It is faith applied backward. It is belief in failure with such intensity that the imagination begins to shape pictures of disaster, and the subconscious mind begins to accept those pictures as commands. Stress grants power to the very result you wish to avoid, for the subconscious mind does not question, it obeys. Understand this now. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are simply out of harmony with the timing that has been arranged for your development. There is no wasted season in the life of a man with a definite purpose. Every hour of struggle is a preparation. Every moment of uncertainty is a refining. Every delay is a polishing of the instrument that will later carve your destiny. When I speak of the prepared pathway, I speak of a truth known to all who have achieved enduring success. Before the individual receives the desire for achievement, the law has already provided the means. The path exists before the dream is conceived. But the man who stresses is blind to this arrangement, for anxiety clouds the mind, darkens the imagination, and shuts the inner ear against the whisper of guidance. Look at the life of Henry Ford. When he announced his intention to build the V8 motor, his engineers declared it impossible. They told him it could not be done because the structure violated the accepted knowledge of their field. Ford did not argue, nor did he stress. He issued a command: produce it. Months passed, failures multiplied, but he remained calm. Why? Because he knew that the law responds to a definite mind, not to a troubled one. His part was to hold the thought and direct the effort. The law's part was to reveal the method. In time, the method appeared. Dr. Frank Gonzalez once declared in the heat of spiritual conviction that he would obtain $1 million to build an educational institution for the young. He had nothing at the time, not even a clear plan, but he had a definite purpose. He spoke his desire publicly, in faith, and acted as though the money were already secured. It came through an unexpected benefactor who had heard the sermon and recognized the sincerity of the vision. That benefactor had been prepared long before Gonzalez spoke the first word of his desire. A man stresses because he believes everything depends on him. A man of faith acts because he believes the law has already prepared his support. The difference is the difference between a drifter and a non-drifter. The drifter moves through life in fear, trying to control that which cannot be controlled. The non-drifter advances with assurance, trusting the unfolding of his definite purpose and placing his energy only in the tasks that belong to him. If you knew how many decades men have burned away by resisting the law instead of cooperating with it, you would tremble. Carnegie built his empire not by anxious striving, but by aligning himself with the principle of organized effort. He enlisted men whose minds were united with his purpose. He trusted the unfolding of opportunity. He saved years by refusing to struggle against the very law designed to help him. Charles M. Schwab rose from obscurity because he understood that enthusiasm, confidence, and calm purpose attract circumstances more effectively than force. F. W. Woolworth pressed forward with his great idea of the 5 and 10 cent store despite ridicule. King Gillette clung to his desire for the safety razor even when every aspect of the idea seemed impractical. These men succeeded because they trusted the inner voice of purpose rather than the outer noise of doubt. Every delay you have faced was not a denial, but a refinement. The seed does not break the soil until its roots are strong enough to support the stem. So it is with your destiny. There are times when the law keeps you hidden so your foundation may grow. There are seasons when the soil of your character must be turned, loosened, and enriched by adversity. You mistake this inner movement for a lack of external progress, but the law sees deeper than your eyes can reach. Consider Darby, who quit 3 feet from gold. He had endured the hardships of mining, the burden of expense, the discouragement of failure. Yet he surrendered at the threshold of triumph because stress extinguished his faith. Had he known the law at work beneath the surface, he would have persisted. The gold was already there, placed long before he touched a tool, but he could not see it, and so he withdrew. Stress is a thief. It steals imagination, the workshop where all plans are shaped. It weakens decision, causing a man to retreat at the moment he should advance. It blinds the senses to opportunity, for opportunity rarely shouts. It whispers. Stress turns strong men into doubters and doubters into drifters. The tragedy of life is not defeat, but missed opportunity. And stress is the greatest cause of missed opportunity. Let me speak plainly. Your past experiences were not punishments. They were preparations. You have misread your life by assuming hardship was evidence of abandonment. Hardship is the discipline of destiny. It sharpens your thought. It cleans your vision. It tests the sincerity of your desire. Every man who has achieved distinction has passed through seasons where he believed himself delayed, only to discover later that he was being constructed inwardly for the work ahead. Now I invite you to shift your identity from one who questions the process to one who trusts it. Say within yourself, I am the type of man who trusts the path arranged for me. For identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. A man who trusts walks differently from a man who doubts. His step is sure. His voice is steady. His mind is at peace. Repeat this affirmation until it becomes the rhythm of your thought. I trust the law that prepares my path long before my eyes behold it. When you adopt this attitude, stress loses its power. You begin to understand that the law is not your enemy, but your ally. Every force of the universe becomes cooperative when your mind becomes definite. The moment you align yourself with your purpose and act with faith, unseen hands begin their work on your behalf. You may think your task is difficult, but I assure you that your stress has been the greater burden. When you cease trying to perform the work of the law and concentrate on your own, peace enters your mind. You discover that the future is not something to fear, but something to prepare for with gratitude. The time has come for you to grasp this truth. Stress is not only wasteful, it is disobedience to the spiritual law that governs success. It contradicts the purpose for which you were created. It interrupts the flow of infinite intelligence through your mind. It prevents inspiration from reaching you. It destroys the harmony required for great achievement. You have reached a turning point. You may continue struggling against the invisible forces designed to carry you forward, or you may surrender the weight of imagined fears and cooperate with the law that has already gone before you. When you choose cooperation, you will save years, perhaps decades, of wandering in circles. You have not been fighting life. You have been fighting the timing of your own destiny. Let go of the struggle. Trust the law. Trust the arrangement. Trust the unseen preparation that has never ceased on your behalf. Your path is older than your worry. It was prepared long before your fear was born. Stress enters a man's mind the moment he begins to doubt the intelligence guiding his life. It is born the instant he imagines himself separated from the source of his strength. I have watched men crumble under burdens that were never theirs to carry, not because the weight was too great, but because their belief in failure made it seem so. Stress is not a condition of circumstance. It is a condition of thought. Fear is the father of stress, and fear is one of the 6 ghosts that enslave the minds of men. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss, the fear of aging, the fear of death. These 6 forces have ruined more lives than plague or famine. A man may escape the storms of the world, but he will never escape these ghosts until he confronts them within himself, for they reside not in the body but in the imagination. Stress is fear turned inward, working in silence, poisoning the mind at its roots. It takes hold of the imagination and forces it to labor against the man instead of for him. The imagination is the workshop where all plans are shaped. When it is corrupted by fear, it no longer builds, it destroys. It no longer creates pictures of triumph. It sketches scenes of ruin. It no longer lifts a man upward. It drags him down to the level of his doubt. If you understood the power of imagination, you would guard it as carefully as a jeweler guards his diamonds. Edison knew this secret well. Before he produced the electric lamp, he saw it clearly in his mind. Before a single experiment succeeded, he had succeeded within himself. He imagined the result with such faith that no failure could unsettle him. Had he allowed stress to enter even once, the lamp would not have been born. Stress destroys invention. It destroys creativity. It destroys accurate thinking. A man under stress cannot judge clearly. His mind becomes clouded with shadows, and his decisions lose their strength. When fear reigns in the imagination, truth is distorted. Possibilities are shrunk. The mind becomes a house divided against itself, and no divided house can stand. My own son, Blair, came into the world without physical ears capable of hearing. The doctors believed he would never speak, but I did not permit stress to enter my thought. I saw in him the seed of greatness. I saw him communicating with the world. Through years of patient autosuggestion and unwavering faith, his mind awakened the ability to hear and to speak. Had I allowed stress to shape my imagination instead of faith, he would have fulfilled the prediction of the doctors instead of the vision I held for him. Stress is not harmless. It is not a passing mood. It is a force that shapes destiny. Most men waste 10 or 20 years of their lives repeating the same months over and over because stress keeps them from making the one decisive move that would alter everything. I have seen men circling the same opportunity for years, too paralyzed by fear to grasp it. A man cannot serve faith and fear simultaneously. They are two masters that demand the throne of the mind. Whichever one you serve will command your future. When fear rules, stress becomes the ruling emotion. And when stress rules, destiny collapses. Stress weakens judgment. It takes away a man's initiative. It removes the fire from his will. Under stress, he postpones action and surrenders responsibility. He hesitates at moments when courage is required and retreats at moments when persistence is needed. The effect is not merely emotional, it is chronological. Stress steals time. It repeats days, months, and even years while the man believes he is waiting for clarity, when in truth he is imprisoned by his own imagination. I have called this condition years lost to drifting. A drifting man is not idle. He is simply occupied with the wrong thoughts. His mind is busy with fear, doubt, and imaginary catastrophe. He is active, yet he accomplishes nothing. He is awake, yet he is not alive. Stress convinces him he is preparing, but he is merely circling. Look at the life of F.W. Woolworth. He was mocked for his idea of the 5 and 10 cent store. Men told him the plan was foolish. Had he allowed stress over their criticism to take root, he would have surrendered his idea and joined the countless others who abandoned their dreams for fear of ridicule. But Woolworth refused to bend. He pushed forward, and the world rewarded him with fortune. Stress would have stolen his destiny as surely as a thief in the night. Observe those who are ruled by stress. Their eyes are uncertain, their voices tremble, their decisions lack firmness. They enter rooms with hesitation, and others feel the instability of their spirit. Respect slips quietly away from them because men instinctively distrust those who doubt themselves. Now observe the opposite. The man who has mastered stress carries himself with a composure that commands the attention of all who meet him. His speech is measured, his step is steady. His presence radiates assurance. He does not rush, he does not tremble, he does not shrink. Even before he speaks, others sense that he is guided by a power greater than circumstance. Carnegie surrounded himself with such men, men who believed in their purpose, whose minds were steady even in crisis. He understood that stress weakens the ability to think accurately. He chose men whose thoughts were controlled, whose emotions were governed, whose imaginations were trained upon the goal. Such men can move mountains because they are unmoved by fear. The contrast is unmistakable. Stress diminishes a man. Faith enlarges him. Stress steals years. Faith multiplies them. Stress weakens the imagination. Faith empowers it. Stress blinds. Faith clarifies. Stress leads to drifting. Faith leads to definite action. To rid yourself of stress, you must first understand its nature. It is not caused by the events of life, but by your interpretation of those events. It is not the burden that breaks a man, it is the manner in which he carries it. One man collapses under a small load because he imagines disaster. Another carries a heavy load with ease because he imagines triumph. Stress is a habit formed by repeated fear. When repeated long enough, it becomes hypnotic rhythm, the silent force that binds a man to the same reactions, the same doubts, the same hesitations, year after year. It becomes the unseen master that rules every decision. But just as fear can shape hypnotic rhythm, so can faith. A man can train his mind to expect victory instead of defeat. He can teach his imagination to picture solutions instead of problems. He can command his emotions to serve his purpose instead of ruining it. This requires discipline, but every great achievement requires discipline. Say to yourself now, I no longer bow before fear. I summon faith to command my destiny. Say also, I act as one who knows his outcome is secured. For this is the truth of your life. Your outcome is secured the moment your purpose becomes definite and your faith becomes active. Stress has no place in the life of a man who knows where he is going and trusts the law that guides him. You may believe your stress is justified because your life contains uncertainty. But uncertainty is the natural condition of all men who strive for greater things. Uncertainty is not an enemy. It is a sign that you are moving forward. Stress is what transforms uncertainty into suffering. Without stress, uncertainty becomes adventure. You have wasted too many years fearing imaginary outcomes. You have allowed the shadows of the mind to govern your decisions. You have postponed action because you believed you were unprepared. Yet preparation comes through action, not through worry. Let me prove this to you. If you look back over your life with honesty, you will see that the majority of your fears never came to pass. Yet they consumed your time, your sleep, your peace, and your imagination. The hours you spent worrying could have been spent building. The energy you wasted fearing could have been used for planning. The strength you surrendered to stress could have created wealth, opportunity, and authority. Stress is a destroyer of riches. It is a destroyer of relationships. It is a destroyer of health. It is a destroyer of confidence. It is the enemy of every man who seeks to rise. But stress is also weak when confronted with faith. A single act of courage, repeated often enough, can banish stress from the mind. A single definite decision can silence the whispers of doubt. A single expression of gratitude can lift the soul above fear. You must decide which master you will serve, stress or faith, doubt or courage, fear or purpose. One leads to drifting, the other leads to destiny. Stress is the enemy of your imagination. Faith is the architect of your future. Stress steals your years. Faith restores them. Stress scatters your mind. Faith focuses it. Stress blinds you. Faith illuminates you. Stress makes you small. Faith enlarges you. Stress weakens your will. Faith strengthens your spirit. Stress produces doubt. Faith produces miracles. You will never rise above the level of your dominant thought. If that thought is fear, your future will mirror your stress. If that thought is faith, your future will mirror your purpose. Let this truth settle deeply within you. Stress is not only the enemy of your destiny, it is the enemy of your faith. It contradicts the law of success. It interrupts the flow of infinite intelligence through your mind. It neutralizes your power of decision. But the moment you choose faith over fear, the law begins to turn in your favor. Stress delays your future. Faith accelerates it. Stress destroys the imagination. Faith empowers it. Stress steals years. Faith saves them. You have wasted enough time. You have given enough power to fear. Now it is time to reclaim your mind. Say it once more. I no longer bow before fear. I summon faith to command my destiny. Say also, I act as one who knows his outcome is secured, and act accordingly. When a man conquers stress, he does not merely remove an emotion. He acquires an entirely new way of walking through life. His very presence is altered. His countenance changes. The air around him shifts. People who once looked past him begin to turn their eyes toward him because the mind of calm authority carries a magnetism no ordinary man can imitate. This power does not come from loud speech or boastful manner. It rises from within, from a mind that has become definite in purpose and obedient to the law that governs all success. You may think calm authority is a natural gift given only to a few men of unusual character, but I assure you, It is a habit, a result of disciplined thought and trained imagination. Every man who stands with composure has first stood within himself, commanding his own fears, silencing his doubts, and holding fast to the picture of his aim. Calmness is spiritual strength resting upon the certainty of purpose. Authority is mental discipline expressed through controlled attention. When these two forces unite, a man becomes unstoppable. People sense order in such a man before he speaks a single word. The moment he enters a room, those around him feel the weight of his certainty. His step is neither rushed nor hesitant. He moves with the quiet assurance of one who knows that nothing can defeat him because his path is guided by infinite intelligence. The world responds to this presence instinctively. Children grow still around him. Women feel safe in his company. Businessmen listen to him with respect. Even rivals restrain their hostility in the face of a man who has mastered his own mind. Confidence of this kind is never loud nor showy. It does not require applause to sustain itself. It does not crave recognition. It does not seek to impress. It simply radiates because the inner mind is united with a purpose that no external condition can disturb. A calm man is not calm because he has no challenges, but because he does not bow before them. He understands that obstacles are part of the law, and that every trial carries the seed of an advantage. Charles M. Schwab possessed this spirit. When he was still a very young man, he walked into the presence of seasoned leaders of industry with an ease that startled them. They listened when he spoke because he carried the flame of purpose within him. His enthusiasm was not frantic, it was directed. His confidence was not forced, it was grounded. His presence alone created opportunity, for men with calm authority make others believe in their own power. It was this inner control that elevated him from obscurity to become the trusted aide of Carnegie and a leader in the steel industry. Such inner calm cannot be faked, for it is not a performance but a condition of the soul. When a man believes in himself, others naturally begin to believe in him. When he trusts his future, others begin to trust his judgment. When he stands firm within, he becomes a pillar without. Stress weakens a man's voice. Calm authority strengthens it. Stress bends his posture. Calm authority straightens it. Stress makes his eyes wander. Calm authority keeps them steady. Imagine the life you would live if calm authority became your habit. You would wake with a sense of direction instead of dread. You would move through your tasks without the tremor of fear. You would speak decisions with clarity. You would face opposition without shrinking. You would meet challenges without trembling. You would enter negotiations with the assurance of a man who knows he cannot be defeated because he has already conquered himself. Opportunity gravitates toward such a man because opportunity is controlled by minds that respect certainty. A leader will entrust responsibility to the man who does not panic under strain. A partner will choose the man who remains composed under pressure. A promotion will be given to the man whose spirit does not waver in difficult hours. Others feel safe following a man who has mastered stress because his mind does not collapse when conditions become severe. Carnegie once told me he would rather trust the future of a great enterprise to a man with calm, definite thought than to a man with superior knowledge but restless spirit. He understood that knowledge without emotional control becomes dangerous. The greatest visions are destroyed by men who lose their composure. The greatest plans fail in the hands of those whose minds are scattered by fear. Calm authority is more valuable than talent, for it gives direction and power to every ability a man possesses. A man of calm authority does not waste energy explaining himself, defending himself, or justifying his actions. He knows his intention. He trusts the guidance of the law. He cares more for truth than for opinion. He stands apart from the multitude whose minds are ruled by emotion and public approval. He is guided by accurate thinking, and accurate thinking cannot develop in a mind filled with stress. It requires quiet, order, clarity, and confidence. Picture yourself becoming such a man. Picture the shift that would occur in your relationships. Your spouse would look upon you with renewed respect, for nothing is more reassuring than a man whose mind is steady. Your children would feel safe, seeing in you a figure of strength in a world of uncertainty. Your friends would seek your counsel. Your enemies would hesitate before challenging you. Your employer would study you more closely, recognizing a potential that demands advancement. A man without stress gains influence without effort. His words carry weight because they are spoken from a place of certainty, not anxiety. His decisions carry authority because they are made from a place of clarity, not confusion. His presence calms those around him because the stability within him radiates outward. The world may be chaotic, but a calm man becomes a center of order wherever he stands. This calm authority does not make him passive. On the contrary, it makes him more effective than the man who rushes into action driven by fear. The calm man is not slow, he is deliberate. He is not timid, he is precise. He does not waste motion or thought. Everything he does has purpose. Everything he says has intent. Everything he decides has direction. Such efficiency saves years of trial and error. You cannot imagine defeat and maintain calm authority. You cannot rehearse failure in your mind and expect others to trust your leadership. Calmness comes from the recognition that your future is secure, not because you possess all answers, but because you understand that infinite intelligence supplies what is needed when it is needed. Stress is born from the belief that you must do everything alone. Calm authority is born from the knowledge that you are supported by law. Carnegie's greatest strength was not his wealth, but his composure. During times of industrial conflict, when others trembled at the prospect of ruin, he maintained the bearing of a man whose destiny was protected. He believed that every challenge would serve a useful purpose if met with accurate thought and definite purpose. His calm authority gave courage to his associates and steadied the minds of thousands who depended on his leadership. If you study the lives of great men, you will find that those who achieved lasting success shared one quality. They did not permit emotion to overrule reason. They governed their minds with discipline. They held their purpose constant. They directed their imagination instead of allowing it to wander into fields of fear. Calm authority is not born in comfort, but in the crucible of disciplined thought. Imagine how differently people will speak of you once this transformation becomes visible. They will say, "He has changed." They will say, "He carries himself like a leader." They will say, "He no longer trembles when life tests him." They will say, "He has become a man others can depend upon." These statements are not flattery. They are the natural response to a man who has conquered the turmoil within. Your posture will shift. Your expression will become composed. Your voice will grow firmer. Your handshake will strengthen. Your decisions will become clear. Your actions will become consistent. Your presence will become a source of stability in the lives of those around you. Such changes cannot be hidden. They will speak for you before you speak for yourself. A man who has gained calm authority seldom needs to assert himself. The world recognizes such dignity instinctively. When he enters a room, conversation softens. When he speaks, others listen. When he sets a goal, others believe it can be achieved because his certainty removes doubt from the minds of all who witness him. This calmness is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the proof that a man has risen above the ghosts of fear and has become a vessel fit for great responsibility. It is a sign that he can be trusted with power because he will not be ruled by impulse. It is evidence that he can be trusted with wealth because he will not be ruled by greed. It is proof that he can be trusted with leadership because he will not be ruled by frustration. You must train your mind to picture victory instead of defeat. You must teach your imagination to dwell on the fulfillment of your purpose, not on the disasters fear suggests. The imagination is a servant. It obeys the master you choose. If stress commands it, it will build images of ruin. If faith commands it, it will construct visions of triumph. Calm authority is the fruit of imagination rooted in faith. Repeat within yourself, I walk with the quiet authority of one whose path is prepared. Say also, I am the type of man whose presence commands respect without speaking. These are not empty words. They are statements the subconscious mind will accept when spoken with feeling and repeated with persistence. The subconscious mind does not argue, it obeys. And when it is commanded to accept the identity of calm authority, it will express that identity through your manner, your decisions, your voice, and your presence. This transformation will save you years, perhaps decades. A man without calm authority wastes enormous time explaining himself, doubting himself, apologizing for his existence, second-guessing his choices, and seeking approval from others. But a man of calm authority moves directly toward his aim. He does not stray. He does not drift. He does not need to repeat lessons learned through unnecessary suffering. He is guided by definiteness instead of emotion. A single change in bearing can redeem 10 wasted years. One shift in posture can open doors previously closed. One improvement in tone can win opportunities formerly withheld. People respond to presence as much as to words. Presence is created by thought. Thought is governed by imagination. Imagination is influenced by faith. Faith is destroyed by stress. Thus, calm authority begins by uprooting stress at its source. The law that governs success is friendly to the man who governs himself. It withdraws from the man who is ruled by fear. Infinite intelligence flows through the mind that is quiet, orderly, and focused. It cannot reach the mind that is chaotic, troubled, or divided. To become a man of calm authority is to become a channel for the very wisdom that shapes destiny. You do not need to strive for this power. You need only to remove the obstruction that prevents it from expressing itself through you. Stress is that obstruction. Fear is that obstruction. Doubt is that obstruction. When these are removed, what remains is the natural strength of your spirit, which is calm, decisive, and authoritative by design. You were not created to tremble before life. You were created to govern your thoughts, direct your purpose, and command your destiny. Stress is learned. Calm authority is your birthright. Reclaim it. Walk with the certainty of a man whose future is secured by law. Walk with the dignity of one who trusts the intelligence guiding him. Walk with the silent power of one who knows that stress is beneath him. This is the mind of calm authority. There are battles you believe still stand before you, yet they have already been settled by laws older than your fear. You tremble because you judge life through the narrow window of present circumstance. You look only at what your eyes can see, forgetting that the forces shaping your destiny operate far beyond the reach of your senses. What you call uncertainty is often the final stage of a victory already arranged on your behalf. A man suffers needlessly when he assumes each burden must be carried by his own strength. He imagines obstacles rising against him, failing to realize that the law which governs all advancement clears the path before him long before his feet touch the ground. A lack of understanding becomes a lack of confidence, and a lack of confidence becomes stress. But stress is merely ignorance of the law. When a man understands the law, he walks with composure even in darkness. Visible struggle and invisible settlement are not the same. What you see with your eyes is only the smallest part of what is taking place. The greatest movements occur in silence, without announcement, beyond your awareness. Just as the seed grows roots before it breaks the soil, your destiny completes its foundations in secret long before your success becomes visible. You fear because you see no movement, yet the movement you cannot see is the movement that matters. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Long before the war turned in favor of the Union, he held within his mind an unwavering belief that the nation would stand. That belief was not born of circumstance, but of purpose. He trusted that the law, which supports righteous aims, would guide the nation through the storm. His calmness in the face of despair did not come from physical evidence. It came from spiritual certainty. His victory was settled in the mind before it was settled on the battlefield. Look also to Edison. Thousands of experiments failed before the lamp appeared. But these failures did not trouble him. Why? Because he believed the answer existed long before he discovered it. He worked not to create the solution, but to uncover it. His conviction that the result was already available gave him the power to persist without stress. He did not tremble when an attempt failed, for he knew the law was guiding him to the correct method. And consider Bell. He believed sound could travel across wire before any machine had produced the effect. He held the picture of success in his imagination until the law brought him the confirmation. You see the triumph now because history records it. But these men saw the triumph before history did. They trusted in visible settlement, while others saw only visible struggle. Their faith was the lens through which they interpreted every obstacle. The law never gives a man a legitimate desire without also preparing the means for its fulfillment. Your desire is the guarantee that the answer already exists. The moment a definite desire takes root in the mind, infinite intelligence begins arranging circumstances to support it. You imagine your dream is a distant possibility, but the law regards it as an established result, waiting only for your cooperation. Every obstacle you fear is part of the arrangement, not an interruption. The law uses adversity as a sculptor uses a chisel to refine, strengthen, and perfect the mind of the man who will soon possess the victory. What you call difficulty is the shaping process. What you call delay is alignment. What you call confusion is preparation for clarity. This truth reveals what I call the prepared answer principle. Every lawful desire carries within itself the completed result, prepared long before the man becomes conscious of the need. You see only the beginning. The law sees the end and arranges the path. When a man begins with faith, he meets the prepared answer. When he begins with stress, he blinds himself to the very solution he seeks. Let the story of Edwin C. Barnes prove this to you. Barnes desired to become a partner of Edison. He had no money, no influence, and no visible chance. But he possessed a definite purpose, supported by unwavering faith. When he reached Edison's office, he did not receive partnership. He received a low-paying position. Yet he held his desire so firmly that he acted as though the partnership already existed. Edison later revealed that the opportunity Barnes sought had been in the making long before Barnes arrived. The law had prepared the answer. Barnes only needed to reach it with faith. Your imagined disasters do not exist in the mind of the law. They exist only in the mind of fear. You worry about losing what was never meant to be kept. You tremble over events that have already been neutralized. You stress over threats that the law resolved before you face them. You fear poverty, yet the law has prepared opportunities for increase. You fear failure, yet your defeats are temporary steps in the unfolding of a greater success. Temporary defeat is not punishment. It is instruction. It signals the need to refine your method, not to abandon your aim. Every man who has risen to great heights has passed through defeat. Had he surrendered at the first sign of resistance, he would have lost the treasure waiting only a few steps ahead. Darby quit 3 feet from gold because he mistook temporary defeat for permanent failure. His stress blinded him to the law at work beneath the surface. The law does not remove obstacles. It transforms them into stepping stones. But stress turns stepping stones into barriers. Stress makes you interpret every challenge as danger instead of design. Stress causes a man to flee when he should advance. Stress blinds him to divine intervention because it fills his imagination with disaster instead of direction. What you fear losing is often the very thing that must be removed for a greater opportunity to appear. The law takes nothing from a man without preparing something better. But stress causes the man to cling to what no longer serves him, delaying his progress and resisting the very change designed to elevate him. Think of the many times in your life when you believed you were being destroyed, only to later discover that you were being redirected. Recall the moments when you thought all was lost, only to find that the path opened in ways you never expected. These events were not accidents. They were evidence of a law working in silence, arranging a destiny that your eyes could not yet comprehend. Stress makes you impatient with the timing of the law. It convinces you that your progress is too slow. It blinds you to the preparation that must take place before success becomes safe in your hands. The law will not place you in a position you are not prepared to sustain. It allows challenge to strengthen you, delay to refine you, disappointment to discipline you. These are not setbacks. They are safeguards. Say within yourself now, what I fear has already been handled. I walk in the confidence of settled outcomes. Say also, every lawful desire within me carries its own fulfillment. These are not mere statements. They are spiritual commands that align your mind with the law. When spoken with conviction, they remove the fog of stress and reveal the path that has been prepared. A man who understands this principle saves decades of unnecessary suffering. He stops wasting years fighting battles that do not belong to him. He ceases delaying his destiny with fear. He no longer circles the same obstacles because he understands that each one contains a hidden advantage. He stops grieving over what was taken because he recognizes that something greater is being arranged. Look again at the examples of great men. Lincoln trusted the unity of the nation before he had evidence. Edison trusted the existence of the solution before he discovered it. Bell trusted the possibility of transmitting sound before he proved it. Barnes trusted his partnership before he received it. Gonzales trusted the $1 million before he touched the first coin. Ford trusted the V8 before a single engineer believed in it. Their victories were not products of chance, but of spiritual understanding. They knew that the law settles all battles the moment a definite purpose is fixed in the mind. Their calmness came from certainty, not from circumstance. Their persistence came from faith, not from reassurance. Their triumphs came from alignment, not from struggle. You must learn to see beyond the appearance of things. A man who judges life by surface conditions remains a slave to circumstance. A man who judges life by spiritual law becomes master of circumstance. Stress is the chain that binds you to what your eyes see. Faith is the key that frees you to act on what your spirit knows. You are not meant to tremble before the future. You are meant to command it through definite purpose. You are not meant to fear failure. You are meant to extract wisdom from defeat. You are not meant to stress over uncertainty. You are meant to trust the law that governs all timing. Every great transformation in your life will first appear as disruption, delay, or discomfort. But these signs do not signify danger. They signify progress. The seed does not break the soil smoothly. It struggles upward. The butterfly does not leave the chrysalis easily. It strains to free its wings. So it is with every man who rises. The breaking is not the end. It is the beginning. Understand this now. Your future has already been structured to your advantage. The events you fear have already been overturned. The threats you imagine have already been neutralized. The opportunities you seek are already in motion, moving toward you in silence. Your task is not to force results, but to align your mind with the law and walk forward without stress. Every moment you spend in stress is a moment you step out of harmony with your destiny. Stress delays what faith accelerates. Stress blinds what faith reveals. Stress weakens what faith strengthens. Stress destroys what faith builds. Stress costs years. Faith restores them. Say again, what I fear has already been handled. I walk in the confidence of settled outcomes. Every lawful desire within me carries its own fulfillment. Let these words become your new identity. The battles you fear are already settled. There comes a moment in every man's life when he must decide what power will govern him. He will either be ruled by fear or by faith, by confusion or by clarity, by drifting or by definite purpose. Every emotion, every decision, every habit, and every result springs from this choice. And nowhere is the difference between the two more apparent than in the matter of stress. Stress does not arise from conditions. It arises from the absence of order in the mind. Once the mind is ordered, stress loses its authority forever. The elimination of stress is not an emotional achievement, but a spiritual discipline. A man cannot remove stress by wishing for peace any more than he can create wealth by wishing for riches. Both require the same process: definite purpose, clear thought, controlled attention, persistent action, and unwavering faith. The man who expects stress to vanish without discipline is like the man who expects harvest without sowing. The law does not reward emotion. It rewards obedience. If you would remove stress permanently, you must begin at its root. Stress is born when the mind has no definite aim. A mind without a chief aim jumps from one thought to another, pulled by fear, pushed by desire, scattered by doubt, exhausted by imagination, gone astray. Such a mind is like a ship without a rudder, driven by every wind and tossed by every wave. Stress is its natural condition, but a definite purpose gathers the scattered forces of the mind and directs them into a single channel, transforming anxiety into power. Your first task is therefore to make your purpose definite. Do not wait for clarity to appear, create it. The man who delays purpose delays life itself. Write your aim on paper. Make it specific. Make it clear. Make it absolute. Describe what you desire, the service you will render, the sacrifice you are willing to make, the time you will devote, and the reward you expect. Place this written statement where you will see it upon rising and retiring. This is the beginning of inner order. The second task is to speak your desire daily. Do not trust memory, emotion, or enthusiasm. They fade like mist. Speak your desire aloud twice a day, once upon rising, once upon retiring, with faith, emotion, and conviction. This simple act, practiced faithfully, becomes the mightiest tool for removing stress. It shifts your mind from fear to certainty, from confusion to purpose, from doubt to belief. The subconscious mind accepts repetition as law. When you speak your purpose daily, you feed your inner mind the thought you wish to express through your life. The third task is to act with courage. Stress cannot survive in the presence of action. Fear withers when confronted with movement. The man who sits in idleness feeds stress with every minute he delays. Action is the antidote to anxiety. Do something, no matter how small, that moves you toward your aim each day. This breaks the hypnotic rhythm of fear and replaces it with the rhythm of progress. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to advance despite it. The fourth task is to trust the law to arrange the rest. This is the secret most men overlook. They try to do both their part and the part of the law. They try to control people, outcomes, timing, and conditions. They attempt to force progress, manipulate results, and predict every stage of the journey. This is the birthplace of stress. A man must trust that once he has made his purpose definite, spoken it daily, and acted with courage, the law itself has taken command of the arrangement. You do not plant a seed and return every hour to pry the soil apart. You trust the unseen work. You water it, you guard it, you nourish it. But you do not interfere with the mysterious process of growth. When a man understands this principle, he stops carrying the burden that belongs to the law. He stops worrying about matters already handled by forces beyond his control. And stress falls from him like a garment he no longer needs. To fully eliminate stress, you must also train your imagination. The imagination can be the friend of your destiny or the enemy of your peace. In an untrained state, it magnifies fears, invents failures, and rehearses disaster until the mind becomes convinced that ruin is inevitable. But under discipline, the imagination becomes the workshop of triumph. Train it by giving it clear pictures of success. Imagine yourself achieving your aim. Imagine yourself overcoming obstacles. Imagine the future that faith promises, not the one fear suggests. Your imagination must be taught to picture victory so vividly that defeat becomes unthinkable. When a man repeatedly pictures success, he awakens spiritual forces that guide him toward the fulfillment of his purpose. When he pictures failure, he awakens spiritual forces that bring him more of what he fears. This is not superstition, but law. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between imagined and real experience. It builds upon whatever thought dominates it. Controlled attention is another essential discipline. Stress arises when the mind is divided, when attention is scattered across many concerns instead of concentrated upon one central aim. A concentrated mind is calm. A divided mind is chaotic. You must control your attention by directing it toward your purpose and away from distractions. This requires deliberate practice. When a fear arises, return your attention to your aim. When a doubt whispers, return your attention to your aim. When circumstances threaten to overwhelm you, return your attention to your aim. Infinite intelligence flows through the mind that is focused. It withdraws from the mind that is scattered. A single hour of concentrated thought is more powerful than a week of mental wandering. The man who controls his attention controls his destiny. The man who does not control it walks as a slave to circumstance. To eliminate stress, you must also address the fear of poverty, the most destructive of the 6 ghosts. This fear controls more men than all others combined. It causes worry, indecision, sleeplessness, hesitation, timidity, and emotional paralysis. The simplest method for defeating the fear of poverty is to form the habit of saving a portion of every dollar you earn, not for the sake of accumulating wealth alone, but for the sake of restoring order to the mind. The man who saves gains confidence in himself. He learns discipline. He defeats the fear of scarcity. No matter how small your earnings, save a portion. This action proves to yourself that your destiny is not controlled by chance, but by your own intelligence. It places you on the side of power. It eliminates the stress that comes from uncertainty. When a man sees his savings grow, he sees evidence that he is improving. This evidence strengthens faith more than any theory or instruction. Your associates must also be chosen wisely. Stress rises in the company of doubters, complainers, critics, and drifters. Their fear infects your imagination. Their confusion muddies your thought. Their habits weaken your discipline. Associate yourself with men who believe in vision, who pursue improvement, who encourage faith, who speak of opportunity rather than disaster. The mastermind principle rests on this truth: no man rises alone. You are influenced either upward or downward by those near you. Carnegie built his fortune not by knowing everything himself, but by surrounding himself with men whose minds were in harmony with his purpose. This harmony eliminated stress because the collective intelligence of the group produced solutions a single mind could not. You must form your own circle of influence, even if it begins with only one loyal ally, and ensure that those within it strengthen your faith rather than weaken it. Another instrument for removing stress is the self-confidence formula. Speak it daily, not as a ritual, but as a declaration of identity. It trains the mind to see itself as capable, disciplined, purposeful, and faithful. Repetition chisels its truths into your subconscious until they become part of your character. A man who speaks the formula with conviction cannot remain timid, doubtful, or overwhelmed. His inner world transforms and his outer world follows. To live without stress, you must learn to treat time as capital. Disorder in time creates disorder in thought. Disorder in thought creates stress. Begin each day with a clear plan. List your tasks. Arrange them by importance. Complete them without haste and without distraction. The mind gains confidence when it sees itself fulfilling its plan. The man who controls his time controls his future. You must also adopt definite habits that strengthen your spirit. Rise at a consistent hour. Begin the day with your chief aim. Review your purpose before sleep. Engage in periods of quiet to listen for guidance from within. Practice gratitude for every advantage, no matter how small. Speak with kindness. Walk with dignity. Treat every man with respect. Such habits cultivate inner order, and inner order produces peace. Repeat these identity-based affirmations until your subconscious accepts them. I am a man of order, courage, and calm authority. I refuse to imagine defeat. I concentrate every thought on my definite aim. My mind is the master of my emotions. The law arranges what I cannot. I walk in harmony with my destiny. These are not poetic statements. They are mental commands that recreate the self. The man who speaks them daily cannot live in stress. His spirit rejects confusion. His mind rejects fear. His heart rejects doubt. He becomes aligned with the law that shapes all success. You may ask, how can these practices save me 10, 20, or even 30 years of my life? And I answer, by removing the years you would otherwise spend drifting, doubting, fearing, postponing, hesitating, collapsing, recovering, starting over, repeating old mistakes, and wandering without purpose. Most men do not lose their years through external misfortune. They lose them through internal disorder. Stress consumes ambition. Stress steals time. Stress delays opportunity. Stress prevents a man from recognizing the path prepared for him. When you eliminate stress, you regain all the years you would have sacrificed to confusion. You move directly toward your purpose instead of circling it. You recognize the right opportunity when it appears. You make decisions swiftly. You recover from defeat quickly. You use adversity to strengthen your character. You listen more clearly to the guidance of infinite intelligence. You walk a straighter path. Look back upon your life. Think of the opportunities you failed to seize because stress clouded your judgment. Think of the decisions you postponed because fear held your will in bondage. Think of the relationships you damaged because worry poisoned your spirit. Think of the dreams you delayed because doubt stole your strength. These losses were not caused by lack of ability, but by lack of inner order. Resolve now that you will never again surrender a single year to stress. Resolve that your future will not resemble your past. Resolve that you will walk the remainder of your life as a man who has mastered himself. You must embrace the identity of the man God, and the law can trust with responsibility. That man does not tremble before uncertainty. He does not panic when life tests him. He does not collapse under pressure. He does not scatter his thought. He does not abandon his purpose. He does not waste emotion on matters already settled by law. He walks with dignity because he understands the unseen hand that guides him. Your battles are handled. Your path is ordered. Your future is secure. All that remains is for you to walk forward with the authority of a man who trusts the law that governs his destiny. Stress is no longer your companion. You have risen above it. Your mind is clear. Your purpose is definite. Your imagination is aligned with victory. Your will is steady. Your heart is strong. Walk forward then. Walk without stress. Walk with certainty. Walk with faith. Walk with the calm authority of a man who knows he cannot be defeated.